also like to read commentary from the Red-Headed Hostess. So it's Mordecai is honored and placed over the house of Haman. As King Ahasuerus issues a decree to preserve the Jews. So here we go. Hello. I'm ready to go. Are you?
We're
Okay.
still recording.
Oh, okay. Well, then can I finish?
Of course.
All right. Thanks.
Let me say hi.
Okay. All right. So the commentary we have on this one says that we might think the story of Esther could end with chapter 7, right? Which would be amazing. But it cannot, because a royal decree had already been sent out, and that created serious problem. So this chapter begins with the complete downfall of Haman, who had worked so hard to climb to the heights of power and notoriety. He had become great and honored in Persia. So now not even his estate would remain his. Instead, his estate was given to Esther to do with as she wished. Esther then revealed her relationship to Mordecai, and the king greatly honored Mordecai, giving him the king's ring, a position tremendous trust and a position of tremendous trust and authority, which we know that he was looking out for the king in the first place because of how he had discovered that plot to kill the king, and then he told the king, so he was already trustworthy, right? And this was wise decision by the king, of course, because he had already learned of his integrity and loyalty. So such a man would use the king's name and authority with wisdom and goodness. So imagine how Mordecai's character must have influenced Esther as he raised her. What a testimony to the power of teaching, guiding, and living righteously within the home. Together, Mordecai and Esther became instruments in saving the entire Jewish nation. So cool, right? Okay, so verse 1, on that day did the king Ahasuerus give the house of Haman, the Jews' enemy, unto Esther the queen. And Mordecai came before the king, for Esther had told what he was unto her. So also this is after Haman was put to death by the king. So we know that he's no longer around. Of course, his whole family is probably devastated, whatever, but that's what happens when you make bad choices. Okay, so there's consequences. There always are. And so then verse 2, and the king took off his ring, which he had taken from Haman, and gave it unto Mordecai. And Esther set Mordecai over the house of Haman. So isn't that so cool that now Mordecai is over all of Haman's house and all of Haman's things? And that is huge, huge, huge step up for Mordecai. Remember, Mordecai was just not very well off. And so he was, this is a huge step for them. So, and Esther spake yet again before the king and fell down. Okay, so my battery on my Mac is now about to be sleeping. So we're going to keep reading as fast as we can. So Esther spake yet again before the king and fell down at his feet and besought him with tears to put away the mischief of Haman the Agagite and his device that he had devised against the Jews. Then the king held out the golden scepter toward Esther. So Esther arose and stood before the king and said, if it please the king, and if I have found favor in his sight, and the thing seem right before the king, and I be pleasing in his eyes, let it be written to reverse the letters devised by Haman, the son of Hammedatha the Agagite, which he wrote to destroy the Jews which are in all the king's provinces. So now everybody's loving Mordecai and Esther, but now we need to undo what was written, and they need to send out a new decree. So verse 6, for how can I endure to see the evil that shall come unto my people, or how can I endure to see the destruction of my kindred? Then the king Ahasuerus said unto Esther the queen and to Mordecai the Jew, behold, I have given Esther the house of Haman, and him they have hanged upon the gallows, because he laid his hand upon the Jews. Write ye also for the Jews as it liketh you in the king's name, and seal it with the king's ring. For the writing which is written in the king's name and sealed with the king's ring may no man reverse. So nobody can reverse this unless it's the king or the king's right hand man who has the ring. So they're getting the okay from that. So that's awesome. Verse 9, then were the king's scribes called at that time in the 3rd month, that is the month Sivan, on the 20th day thereof. And it was written according to all that Mordecai commanded unto the Jews, and to the lieutenants and the deputies and rulers of the provinces which are from India unto Ethiopia, 127 provinces, unto every province according to the writing thereof, and unto every people after their language, and to the Jews according to their writing and according to their language. So they had to send this decree to 127 provinces. That's crazy. Like, could you imagine like your city, and then we have to do that times 127? Like, it's a lot of stuff to undo, right? Verse 10, and he wrote in the king's Ahasuerus' name, and sealed it with the king's ring, and sent letters by post on horseback and riders on mules, camels, and young dromedaries, wherein the king granted the Jews which were in every city to gather themselves together, and to stand for their life, to destroy, to slay, and to cause to perish all the power of the people and province that would assault them, both little ones and women, and to take the spoil of them for a prey. Which is so sad that they even would do this to children. You know, you're just like, what? Women and children? Like, what? We weren't even in a war. Like, why are we doing this? It was just because some guy felt threatened by his pride, like felt his pride threatened. And then this is what's happening. Crazy. So upon one day in all the provinces, the king Ahasuerus, namely upon the 13th day of the 12th month, which is the month Adar, that copy of the writing for the commandment to be given to every province was published unto all people, and that the Jews should be ready against that day to avenge themselves on their enemies. So the posts that rode upon mules and camels went out, being hastened and pressed on by the king's commandment. And the decree was given to, or at Shushan the palace. And Mordecai went out from the presence of the king in royal apparel, blue and white, and with a great crown of gold, and with a garment of fine linen and purple. And the city of Shushan rejoiced and was glad. The Jews had light and gladness and joy and honor, and in every province and in every city, whithersoever the king commanded, and his decree came, the Jews had joy and gladness, a feast and a good day. And many of the people of the land became Jews, for the fear of the Jews fell upon them. I love that many of them became Jews. They're like, no, I'm Jewish too. Yeah, true that, right? Like, we know, well, we want the Lord's protection, so of course we'd want to be baptized, right? So Mordecai was then promoted to what many believe was the same position that Haman had. How ironic that the very man that Haman had built the gallows for now held his same important position. Haman had ultimately shone a light on Mordecai's firmness and strength, and the people of Shushan rejoiced in this promotion, and many of the people of the land became Jews. So cool. So imagine what it was like in each Jewish home when this new decree was received. Could you imagine? Like, I can't even imagine. And what insights does this entire story give you into the world in those days? Like, that it was hard times. Okay, so that is it for our reading. And if you are feeling like you're still lying to your friends about being fine, and you're not, because you experienced betrayal trauma, the longer you pretend the longer that you pretend that you're okay, the longer you're carrying this pain alone. And it is not something that you have to carry alone. So I have created this monthly Christ-centered mail filled with truth, healing tools, simple challenges, art, stickers, and just decals, things that will help you move from surviving to thriving, so that you can not stay stuck in this place, so that you can start to heal, because time isn't the only thing that can help us heal. Time, I mean, yeah, it's cool. I guess we have to wait 10 years or whatever, but like, that's not what we want to do. We want to accelerate our healing so that we can actually live the life that we are currently living in. And we want to take advantage of the joy that is available for us without focusing on that negative that has happened to us in our lives. And so, I dissect a lot of Satan's lies to help us move beyond that. So if you're interested in more information, go to warriorletters.com and sign up for your first supply drop. Until Esther chapter 9, stay strong, warrior.